And I got to a point where I was in England and I was homeless, like literally eating out of dumpsters. And it was one day when I was standing in line at a soup kitchen that it hit me that, there was a time where I had it all and I was.
Welcome to the Laws of Business podcast. Here, we will share the skills you need to make your business a success. Learn about goal setting, productivity, time management, marketing, and much more. Hear inspiring stories with today's best business leaders and join a hub of thousands of passionate entrepreneurs across the world. And now, here's your host, Jamil Jama.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Law of Business. I'm Jamil Jama, and I interview entrepreneurs that can help you to start and grow your business. And today we have a real awesome guest, Nichole Carlson. Nichole Carlson works with 6- and 7-figure earners who are successful, yet are still struggling with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. And inside, they feel like they are barely holding it together. Nichole flips a switch to help them break through in business, bring back the passion in their relationships, and give them the energy so they won't burn out. And it's a real pleasure to welcome Nichole Carlson on the show. Nichole, that was just a brief bio of who you are and what you do. But first of all, Nichole, I just want to thank you so much for taking your time out to this interview. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Fantastic, Nichole. So, Nichole, you work with 6- and 7-figure earners, as I mentioned in your very short bio. I know you've got a real long, awesome story, but we wanted to keep this short. You work with 6- and 7-figure earners who are successful, yet are still struggling with stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, as I mentioned in your bio. But before that, what was you doing? Can you take us back to your backstory? Can you tell us what you was doing from when you started until where you are right now, please?
Absolutely. I have quite a long story, but in my 20s, I was living the American dream. I had the house, the husband, and the career in software engineering, if you can believe that. And I hated it. I hated software engineering. I was in a relationship with a man that I didn't trust. And the quote unquote problem that I had was I had it all, but inside I felt so empty and unfulfilled. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to, if I wasn't fulfilled then and I had what looked like, on the outside, it looked like I had everything, then how was I going to find that fulfillment? How was I going to be happy? And I struggled with that question for years. And I stayed in that marriage for about 12 years until it was around the time that my mom passed away, and she was only 47. And it was it was really, as hard as it was really a gift to me to go into my life. It was a message. It was a message that life is short and that I have to move forward, whatever that looks like. And for me, I didn't know how to fix my problems. And so I ended up getting a divorce and selling the house. And then one day I just quit my job. And then an hour later, I sold my car. And the next day I was on a one-way ticket to Spain. And I traveled for about 10 years on and off, coming back to Texas and getting a software engineering contract and then going back to travel. And that's how I live my life, because that's the only thing that I really knew about what I wanted. And it was basically the hero's journey. And I got to a point where I was in England and I was homeless, like literally eating out of dumpsters. And it was one day when I was standing in line at a soup kitchen that it hit me that, there was a time where I had it all and I was empty and unfulfilled. And then I had nothing, being homeless. And I was so happy and fulfilled because I finally understood what it took to be happy. And that's, the relationship that you have, that building of that relationship. And I realized that didn't matter my circumstances. It didn't matter if I had it all or if I had nothing, that I could always be happy and come to that center of who I was, and that I could rebuild my life and get everything that I wanted with this core foundation of fulfillment and happiness and knowing who I was. And that was a great moment for me because, one, it's not really a sustainable diet to eat out of dumpsters, and as much fun as it was. But,
what's a dumpster? Is it the vans that give food to homeless people?
No, it's an actual trash bin.
Dumpster. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's the green big metal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but in England they call them skips, so it sounds a bit fancier.
Yeah, I know what a skip is. Yeah, I know what a skip is.
Yeah. So I came back and I rebuilt my life from nothing because, and it took me a while because obviously, I was coming from traveling and being homeless, but I rebuilt on that foundation of fulfillment and what I wanted instead of the American dream or this blueprint that I thought I was supposed to live up to. And that, coming from that different place, I could still have it all, but really have it all because I'm also fulfilled. I'm also coming from that place of my heart. And so it was very different.
Interesting story. I don't think I've ever had a guest that was homeless before. That must have been very hard. But what I couldn't understand about your story is very interesting. How can someone be homeless and be happy? That's one of the biggest fears for me, is being homeless, because I've never been homeless before. Because
even though I was homeless, I knew I was safe. I was actually, it was a group of us and we ended up squatting. And so I did have a roof over my head.
Squatting in mansions?
In an apartment or flats. Yeah. And so I did have a roof over my head. I did eat very well. And
you had friends as well?
Yeah. And I had friends. So the thing of it is it brought to me this question of, who am I without the partner, without the money, without the things? Who am I? And I did that for about a month, which, for some people that may seem like a long time or not a long time, but I every meal I ate out of the dumpster for about a month, and I hung out with these people who had a very different outlook on life. I
think they are no longer your friends now.
They are not, but
you become a different person. You progressed.
I am, but I'm grateful for that time and those people, because that was the thing of it is, the funny thing was I chose that it was a money mindset block where I was actually rejecting the money that I had before, where I came out of that and I basically said, I don't need money. I don't need to prove myself. I can do this without money. And I did. And it was a money mindset thing. Obviously I've come a long way, but I had to go through that to experience it, because, there's so many people out there who are making so much money and it's still not enough. They have a relationship that looks perfect from the outside, but they're longing for that passion and they don't have that excitement. And they're not taking care of their health because of all these other things. So they're coming from this place of nothingness from the inside. And I had to get to the place where I had nothing on the outside to be able to come from that place of having some, like, everything on the inside, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. But Nichole, now you are you can have it all coach, and you help high performers. and high achievers flip the switch inside that will allow them to smash upper limits and step into a powerful, unleashed leader.
Exactly.
How do you go about in doing that?
I saved them the 20 years that I went through, and I helped them really connect to who they are and what they want on a heart level. And a lot of people don't do this because we're so concerned about external validation and looking good and doing the right thing. And those things are all good, that we want to do the right thing. But if you're neglecting yourself and what you truly want as an individual and what you truly need, like obviously I was neglecting myself because I needed that love and that connection and that passion. And I didn't know how to get that. And there's so many times where we don't know how to get that, especially as we accumulate these outside or external things or get to the next level. And so I take them to a place where it's their heart, it's the core of who they are, and everything naturally starts to fall into place. For instance, they do start to make more money and in their business, and a significant amount of money as well. And they're actually happier in their business because they're doing what's right for them in their heart level. And their marriages improve, and their relationships with their children improve, and their health improves too. And it may sound like this huge promise, but when you are truly aligned with yourself, if you come back to what you want, if you're truly following what you want and what your heart craves, I mean, these are basic things like love, passion, excitement. You can't tell what my values are, right? Inner peace. These are basic, fundamental things that we are supposed to have as human beings and that we actually need. And when we deny ourselves by trying to live up somebody else's standards, we're forgetting the basics. And I think that's what, things like journaling and meditation are supposed to reinforce. But a lot of times we do these things like journaling and meditation, and we think that we're doing the inner work, but we're really not, because we haven't addressed those patterns that are holding us in captivity. That's why we still feel stuck when we do this journaling and these meditations and all these things and the morning routines, because we still haven't done that inner work where we come back to ourselves.
Yeah, one of my mentors said, it's not what you have, it's who you become. He basically he said, as he got older, he didn't care about materialism so much. He cared more about the relationships he built and the person he became. That was more important.
Exactly. And I think we all come to this place where we feel like we realize that everything that we've been doing has just left us empty. And for me, it took my mom passing away for me to actually take action, and, a lot of us have, chronic disease or some kind of issue that comes up in our life where we have to take a look at ourselves and what's on the inside. And that is really the tragedy, that it takes so much for us to admit that there's a real problem with what's going on the inside, that we've not taken care of ourselves and we haven't really built that relationship with ourselves.
So, Nichole, how did you become you can have it all coach? How did you transform into that?
Well, I started in weight loss coaching, and then I went to helping people build their businesses. And when I did those two things, I naturally started coaching on, who they are, their self-worth, how are they feeling about their lives. And it naturally started, like every type of coaching you do does go back to what works for you and what's in line with your heart. And it goes on into the deeper levels. If you're like a life coach or a high performance coach or a have it all coach, it'll go back to the core of who you are as a person, and then trickle out to the diet and the weight loss. Because usually when I work with my clients, we don't talk about diet or weight loss most of the time, but those things happen as a result of working on the inner stuff. And so I noticed that every time I worked with someone in one area of their life, we always went on the inside, and we always went to what was really right for them. And so it kind of transformed into this, yeah, you know what? You can have it all. Even if your life isn't perfect, which it never will be, hopefully, because perfection is boring. But you can feel like you have it all. Like you are improving in every area of your life, and you are happy, and you feel this gratitude from the inside. And with that, you don't lack, because everything you need is coming from inside of you, your security, your love, your connection, and that radiates out to your outside world. And then you have those things.
There's a quote by Robert Kiyosaki, and I love this quote. What he says is, your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. Because
Exactly.
Many people procrastinate. Nichole, did you ever procrastinate? And if you did, how did you stop procrastinating?
Absolutely. Well, I didn't realize this, but procrastination it's not about procrastination. It's about when you are looking for external validation and you are trying to live up to somebody else's standards, you're not going to want to take that action. And so really what procrastination is the fact that you are trying to do something that is out of line of who you are. So when I was procrastinating, I was doing, following the American dream blueprint and living that life. So I was always procrastinating, and I was procrastinating getting out of that marriage and, figuring out who I was and going on that journey, because I was looking on the outside. What would people think? What would people say? Instead of what I wanted from the inside. And when you go inside and say, okay, what do I want? Does anything really stop you? If you really go deep and you ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need? And it's coming from a place of passion. Does anything really stop you? And that's my point with procrastination. It's when you're trying to do something for somebody else or something that's not in line with you. If you're excited about something, you'll go and do it, and the procrastination will be gone.
Definitely. There's another quote. I love this quote as well. Similar to the other one. It's by Grant Cardone. He basically says, I'm sure you know him, definitely.
Yes.
You must know him.
Yes.
That's a stupid question. I should know something. I think every entrepreneur knows him. Grant Cardone says, refuse to be tomorrow who you are today. Refuse to be tomorrow who you are today. And have you read his book, the 10 times rule?
I am actually halfway through that. Yeah. It's on my audio.
I need to get that book. People have been recommending that book to me. I still haven't read it. I need to get that book. But you teach people how to 10x their life as well, isn't it? And get the passion they crave.
I actually have a webinar on that on my website right now. It's how to 10x your life and get the passion you crave, because we always want to be going to that next level, and we don't want to really give up our success, do we? But we also want that passion.
So when is that level? When is that webinar? Have you already recorded it?
That'll be on my website this weekend. And it'll be up like this weekend.
And will it be always accessible?
Yes.
Or is it just one-off?
No, it will be up there. It's such a great class, and it'll transform your life. So
is it free or do we have to pay?
Yes, it is free. It
Nice.
is great information.
Nice. So Nichole, if anybody wanted to contact you, where can they contact you? And also to listen to your webinar, where can they go?
Okay, they can go to my website, which is NicholeCarlson.com, and that's Nichole with an H. And then I am on my personal Facebook a lot. And then I also have a Facebook page where I have an actual show where I bring guests on, and it's called Flip the Switch. And if you go to Flip the Switch, you can see me on there talking to guests and connect with me there as well.
And talking about books, what book would you recommend? Do you recommend the 10X by?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. And then High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard is really good as well.
Okay, so High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. So Nichole, what are your future? This is my final question for you. What are your future plans right now?
My future plans. I want to keep expanding my show and network with amazing people. And I feel like I have a book that's just being created inside of me right now that is going to happen probably in the next year or two. I don't know where I am inside with it, but I know that it's something that I need to do because it will be it'll be so valuable to so many people.
It definitely was, because your story is so awesome, Nichole. Nichole, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it was a real pleasure to meet you.
It was so great meeting you. Thank you so much.
And I want to thank all the listeners for tuning in and listening. If you know anybody that this interview will benefit, please share it with them. Please also let me know what you think in the comment section and subscribe. And I'm Jamil Jama. This is The Law of Business, and that was Nichole Carlson's interview. Thank you all very much for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Laws of Business podcast. Find out more about us on thelawsofbusiness.com. Thank you for being a part of our journey.